The arbitration proceedings process has been extended for some more time given the question marks over Qedani Matlangu's testimony. Meanwhile, a witness in the Life Isidimeni arbitration hearing has admitted to having no experience to care for mentally ill patients. Dorothy Franks told the hearing today that she had registered an Anchor House as a non-profit organization to care for mentally ill patients despite her having no qualification to run such an institution. Frank says she was advised by former Director of Mental Health in Gauteng, Makabo Manamela, to renovate premises at Kalafong Heights, where she was going to accommodate patients. Frank says the patients came to her facility at the instruction of health authorities. She says the patients had no IDs or medical records. Let's go live now to those proceedings.
You basically put them onto what? How were they taken? By bus?
They took them back with a bus to Precious Angels.
Without their consent?
Yes.
Yeah. These payments, you said you received later in September of around 539 or 35. Was it a back payment or what?
Yes, Councillor.
It was a back payment?
Yes, Councillor.
And until when did you receive a payment, when you started receiving it?
Until February.
February 2017?
Yes, Councillor.
But you were shut down on the 31st of October 2015. Why did you receive money up to February?
Yes. Okay, all the nurses and the caregivers were still working there. And that was what the CEO told us, that I must...
Look at the Ombuds report says you were shut down on the 31st of October. 31st of October.
Okay, but...
And you end up to February, and so I'm asking why did you?
Okay. As I'm saying, they said the contract was for until March. So they're going to keep all the care workers, all the cleaners, and all the nurses.
Without patients?
No, the patients will still be under their care. And I must still pay them.
No, but when you shut down and patients transferred to CCRC?
Okay.
That's what the Ombuds report tells us.
Yes, but our care workers and nurses were still working under CCRC. But CCR didn't pay them. I paid them with that money. That was the agreement with the CEO. It was not an agreement, but she told me it will happen like that.
Yes. And when you were shut down, when did you move out physically from these premises?
Okay, it was only myself that I was removed.
When was that?
I was actually on the 7th of November.
7th November?
Yes, Councillor.
Okay. So on the 7th of November, you walk out of the premises and you leave your staff?
Yes, Councillor.
Yeah. And the staff will be employed by who? By CCRC or by you?
It was still employed by me.
Oh, I see. And why was that the arrangement? Because you had been shut down, you had been told to remove your operations from the premises.
They said I must just remove myself.
Yeah. I see. And how many were these employees of yours at the time?
How many?
How many employees did you have at the time? Let's take it a step back. On the 23rd of June 2016, when you received your first patients, how many employees did you have?
I don't have the list here, but it was almost 44.
44. When did you employ those?
Okay, when we were busy renovating there, we were busy with the interviewing of all the care workers.
Okay. Did you have social workers amongst them?
No, I didn't have a social worker.
Did you have nurses?
Yes, I just had
how many?
One nurse on the 23rd, but on CCRC.
And doctors?
No, they said we must use the doctor from CCRC.
Okay.
They said, who said that?
Okay, because we didn't have doctors there, we have to use the Dr. Lebelo from CCRC Health Department. And if there is anything that we have to do in connection with the clinic, then we can take them to the clinic or to the Mamelodi Day.
Tell me, what was your professional staff composition like your nurses, dietitians, doctors, and so on? How did you compose it? Or did you employ any professional staff?
Okay, as I said, there was, I employed a psychotic nurse.
Yeah.
And there were staff nurses and...
One.
Sorry?
You had one.
In the beginning, on the 23rd, there was one.
Yes.
But after, because there was no payment, nobody didn't want to work for us, because even the care workers said they don't get paid, so they can't go any further if they don't get paid.
Yes.
But in September, we have a psychotic nurse, professional nurse,
yes,
staff nurses, and normal nurses.
That is in September?
Yes.
Okay.
In the meantime, Health sent in the nurses from West Copies and CRC.
Yeah. And in September when?
Okay, most of them start working in September from the 9th, I think.
And you get shut within the month of that.
Yes.
That's a place dangerous for patients, so they get hurried out of there. And you get paid up to February of the next year. I still don't know why.
Okay, because the nurses and the care workers was working there, and they said...
Why didn't they pay them directly? Because you were gone.
Yeah,
You left in September.
They said they're not going to pay them. They must...
Who are they? I want
the
specific...
CRC, the CEO from Cullinan.
But who paid you? Was it the department?
Yes.
Who from the department arranged for your payment? Whilst you had stopped working and you officially shut down?
This was the health department. It was...
Who authorized your payments?
It was the finance department and the province.
Who in the finance department?
I think it was Paul Trina.
Who?
Paul Trina.
Paul Trina. How do you write Trina?
Sorry?
How do you spell Trina?
Trina. Trina. Paul Trina.
Trina.
Yes.
In the finance department.
Yes. So what they said, we must make sure that all the patients has the patient list. We must check the patient list, and if patients was transferred, then we just lower every time when the patients was transferred or they passed on.
Did you share any of the money you received? On your account, how much would you have received? 539 plus 100,000 a month up to February. How much was that? Over $1 million, is it?
Yes.
Yes, it is over $1 million. How much was the exact amount?
I can't remember because I don't have my bank statements here.
And that money was paid into your account?
No, in the
center's account?
Yes.
But you managed the account?
No, we've got I had a treasurer that managed that account.
But ultimately, you were in control of the account?
That's right, yes.
And it was your business?
Yes, Justice.
Yes. And it appears to me that I think Just a day before you employ this second professional nurse, the following day, Caesar Shatwayo died. That is on 10 September 2016, and that was the 5th death already.
Yes, Councillor.
So, and on the list, you could only inform under half of the people who died's families, because you didn't know the contact details of the rest.
No, I didn't know the contact.
Yes, what did you do with their bodies?
Okay.
They died in your hands, you didn't know who they were or who their family people were. How did you dispose of their bodies?
Okay, what happened when we sent them to Mamelodi, it was in the Mamelodi hospital, they was there. And only Sizwe that I know, because that night when Sizwe died, he was the mortuary at Cullinan didn't work, because we normally we must send it.
What do you mean it didn't work?
Sorry? Justice?
What do you mean when you say the mortuary did not work?
Okay, they were explaining to me that the gas was, that it was out of gas. So I couldn't send the body there.
Did the mortuary get cold? The chamber itself where the bodies are
I
kept?
really don't know, because that night they just said to me the mortuary is out of order.
So what do you do with the body?
Okay, that night I phoned Matilda Malaza, the CEO, and I said to her, and Steve, the professional nurse that was in charge there, he said, and I said to her that Steve said the mortuary doesn't work. She said, yes, she knows about it. And
The CEO said she knows that the mortuary does not work.
Yes. So I said,
That is CEO Malaza.
Yes. Is there some way that we can take the body to Mamelodi Day? So she said, because he wasn't in Mamelodi, so they can't send him there. So I even phoned Rochelle Gordon and find out whether she can find out about a mortuary. But in the meantime, I got this number in my book for AFBOP.
Number for what, ma'am?
For AFBOP.
AFBOP, yeah.
Yes. And it's actually Diane from Siabadinga gave me that number, and I asked him if he can help me with the body of Sizwe. So he came and took the body to AFBOP. And the next day, they asked me to give this the file of Sizwe to the CEO so that Daphne can follow it up. And I said, I don't have family members. I don't have an ID for Sizwe. So they must please
Why do
help.
you take patients whose
Please
family
help me
members
with
you
it.
don't know? What do you say was the reason? Why do you do that?
You know what? This was really not a good decision, yes. Because they just brought in the patients, and we were asking all these things. Where's the IDs? Where's the files? We keep on asking, where's the IDs? Where's the files? So that we can follow up.
Why did you not refuse to take the patients?
Because they said that the place was there and everything was fine, so we can just take them in, according to our department. And they'll sort out the IDs and the files on a later stage.
Thank you. There is under LR 55, that is 51, the last page there. I see that you only have one patient whose family you could trace, that is Robert Sitole.
Yes, because...
And the rest were untraceable.
Yes, Councillor.
And on the last column, where you record a body collected under Robert Sitola? He said yes. For Kenneth Soka, Joseph Gumeda, it's no.
Yes, I could trace that family members because there was a number for not Kenneth. Kenneth was there. On Kenneth's file there was no family members. And Joseph, there was, but I couldn't get through, so I asked Daphne also whether she have anything for the families for Joseph Kumedi.
Yes. So these patients were left lying in the mortuaries without any...
Yes, Council.
And you should have realized that when you took them under your care, didn't you? How would you dispose of their bodies if they died?
Okay. I asked the help of the social worker for CRC, and she said to me they will put it on...
No, that's not the question. When you took the bodies onto your premises and got paid for looking after them, you should have realized that if they were to die, you wouldn't know how to dispose of their bodies. And that actually happened.
It happened, but that's where I said I keep on asking whether they can give me information on that. I asked the health department and I asked CRC.
But you took them in your care, you demanded payment, claim forms, you got paid. Didn't you realize that you'll cause so much indignity and pain to their families? Bodies lying in mortuaries that don't work. You should have anticipated that, isn't it?
I should have, but as I'm saying, I was trying to get hold of all these.
Maybe you didn't care.
No.
Maybe you didn't just care what happens to these people.
No, I didn't, because especially with the patients, I follow up to the mortuaries. Is the patient still there? Then I follow up with Daphne. Could she get any information for me?
Yes. Yes. In relation to finally this, that is on the medication and food as well as clothing. How did you, before you were paid the 535,000 rands later, that is in September, how did you cater for those? That is medication, food, their clothing.
Okay.
That is from the 23rd of June, July, August, almost 3 months.
Okay. As I was saying, the food was taken over by CCRC in July. And Health Department put an order in for us for bedding. And they put an order in for food for these patients.
Yes.
And they said Health Department said when we receive the payments, we will do the payment to these people.
And did you pay?
Yes, I did pay them.
And it appears that Dr.
Who did you pay?
The order that the Health Department put in for the bedding and for the food.
It appears that Dr. Manamela's name is written all over what you had been doing, I think, since the issue of in fact, from the 13th of November 2015, when you addressed, an invitation was extended to you, when premises were looked for you, when the license was issued, it's also Dr. Manamela. When patients were discharged from CRCC to your center, it was as per the instruction of Dr. Manamela. It appears on this LR9 I had referred to you, also in evidence by the social worker from CRCC. and you moved from Kalafong Heights to Killinan Center, where you had no formal lease agreement. In fact, you were just instructed to go and open operations there. Why was Dr. Malamela so instrumental in these arrangements throughout?
I really don't know. Why was she like that?
Yeah. Did you ask why was she actively involved in making these arrangements?
The patients must be transferred from life. That's all I know.
Thank you. Justice Msaneka.
Thank you.
I'll leave it at that.
Yes. You're going to be asked many questions still, ma'am, by at least 4 advocates.
Yes.
And we're going to
Justice.
start. Ms. Stein, Advocate Stein. Switch on.
Thank you, Justice. And good morning, Mrs. Franks. My name is Nikki Stein, and I'm part of a team representing families who lost their loved ones during this crisis. I'd like to start off by asking you a few questions around the license, which I know we already went to in your exam in chief, but if you could please turn back, it's in file 7 at page 2385.
Page
2385.
Yes, Councillor.
Have you got that in front of you?
2385.
Yes. Okay, Mrs. Franks, you testified earlier that the address indicated on the license is different from the address where Anchor in fact operated. Is that correct?
Yes, Councillor.
And you testified earlier as well that although your license states that it's a child residential care facility, you were in fact accommodating adults in your facility.
Yes, Councillor.
I'd like you to look at the license just above where it says child residential care facility, and it is an issue that was raised earlier. It says for persons with severe or profound intellectual disability. Do you see that?
Yes, Councillor.
And you testified earlier that you accommodated severe mental patients. What
Yes.
does that mean? What kind of conditions does that include?
Okay, it's a severe mental patient that is really highly mental.
Can you elaborate for us, please?
Okay, because I was looking after patients from 18 and upwards, it could be that they're getting epilepsy fit, and that is where the severe mental patient came in.
Okay, so we heard earlier in this arbitration from Ntombi Futi Dladla, whose brother was Joseph Gumede. We've spoken about Joseph already today.
Yes.
Joseph was diagnosed with a mental illness caused by excessive use of marijuana.
He was what?
He was diagnosed, according to Mrs. Ladler, with a mental illness caused by the excessive use of marijuana.
Joseph?
Do you have knowledge of that?
No, we didn't see anything in the file.
Can you tell us about Joseph's condition?
Okay, as far as I know, he had sugar diabetes also. That's what I know.
Is sugar diabetes a mental health condition?
No.
And so did Joseph, according to your knowledge, have any mental health condition?
No, he didn't have. Because that was also bring to the attention of health department.
We're going to hear later from, and we spoke earlier about Charity Ratsotso. We're going to hear later from his sister Nono. Charity was a patient who our clients...
Yes, there are many arbitration proceedings continuing this afternoon. Still on the stand is Dorothy Franks from the Anchor NGO giving testimony and answering questions. Some tough questions posed to Dorothy with regards to what she did with the bodies of patients after they had passed on and why those bodies were left in non-functioning mortuaries. But stay tuned to ANN7.